This name of this judge, as they had preliminary arguments yesterday or hearing on whether or not this judge would issue a temporary restraining order trying to stop DOGE from their cuts and firing of employees, is one we've heard before. It's Judge Chutkan, who oversaw the January 6th case from Jack Smith.
And we could get a decision sometime today from a federal judge in Washington, D.C. that could potentially limit Elon Musk and his DOGE team from doing things like that, accessing government systems and firing federal employees. The lawsuit was filed by more than a dozen state attorneys general, but Judge Tanya Chutkan hinted at a hearing yesterday that she might not impose immediate roadblocks to Musk's infiltration of the nation's government agencies. Judge Chutkan called DOGE's actions, quote, concerning and troubling, but she also said the state's argument was too broad and hypothetical. Basically, that she needed to see more evidence of imminent harm before she granted a request for a temporary restraining order that would curtail what Musk and his DOGE team are doing.
Obviously, we're talking about more uncoverings from DOGE and, of course, the legal process that's going ahead with it. And, Will, there are some familiar voices, some familiar names to a lot of our listeners in terms of who the judge is that's going to be making potentially this decision and maybe going in a very surprising way.
That's right. So last week we talked about the 4 that we had already filed in. Yes. There's another case that is before the D.C. District Court, and this is states' attorneys general that are bringing a lawsuit trying to stop DOGE from
You've probably seen that
cutting,
in the headline.
right.
You've probably seen the headline of, oh, don't worry, the rogue judges are going to take care of this. They think they're above the law.
That's right. So this one, and I will say the ACLJ is preparing to engage this one as well. This would be the 5th that we have engaged in just shy of a week and a half whenever that one is filed. But Professor Hutchison, this name of this judge, as they had preliminary arguments yesterday or hearing on whether or not this judge would issue a temporary restraining order trying to stop DOGE from their cuts and firing of employees, is one we've heard before. It's Judge Chutkan, who oversaw the January 6th case from Jack Smith. And Professor Hutchison, what have we heard from Judge Chutkan thus far?
Well, surprisingly enough, Judge Chutkan seems like she is prepared to follow the Constitution. As you explicated earlier, Will, the President of the United States is a unitary executive under Article 2 of the Constitution. And now we have 14 states who are claiming that the president lacks the authority to provide oversight and perhaps to fire federal employees. The predicate to their claim is they must show irreparable harm, and this particular judge does not believe that they can muster sufficient evidence in support of their claim. And at least on a preliminary basis, she is inclined to basically dismiss the temporary restraining order request by the 14 states. So it's very surprising.
Yeah, maybe we actually are seeing a judge step in, one that we knew of, and say, hey, it's not all political. It's not all party line. There is a rule of law here, and we're not just going to go ahead and go with it because, the internet sphere on Threads decides, the judges need to take control of this.
That's right. And also when you think about this, sometimes we get frustrated by judges that dismiss things pretty quickly based off standing, because they're like, the parties didn't actually have the ability to bring this in the first place. But that's kind of what she indicated when she declined to rule from the bench. Now, she can issue an order that could go differently if she has a change of heart, but we'll be looking for that. But Professor Hutchison, it seems exactly like what she's saying here, is that these states' attorneys general and the states themselves may actually not have standing to file here because they can't prove that they were directly harmed.
Absolutely. Indeed, the judge went a little further, suggesting that the employees, if they were before her court, would have difficulty because they could be fired. But let's assume they were fired wrongfully. they could then reclaim their jobs down the road and they could be compensated. Here, it is even more extreme because the states are claiming somehow they are harmed. They thought they had a favorable judge, but the judge right now, at least so far, is inclined to follow the law and to follow the Constitution. But we should also consider the background. The background is the U.S. government is still stuck in the 17th century with respect to some of their processing. I started my professional career as a check reconciler on the midnight shift, and I used an adding machine, and I added up checks to make sure there was no fraud, waste, or abuse. What Elon Musk is trying to do is trying to introduce the 21st century to the United States government.
You'd be showing your age, but they're still doing it.
Well, but also I would say the difference there is that you were actually reconciling the payments. What it appears has been happening is that as far as our Treasury goes, they haven't been reconciling anything because they're not even putting the line item code in the Treasury, the Treasury account symbol, so they know where those line items are reconciled from.
Precisely. So what the Treasury has been doing, the Treasury Department and the federal government, they have in some respects either inadvertently or deliberately been assisting potential fraud.
All right, let's go ahead. I want to take a phone call. John is calling from Pennsylvania. He's got a question related to this. I think it'd be a good time to take it. John, you're watching on YouTube, which we appreciate. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard this, but I've heard a couple of constitutional scholars stating that the way the court system is being used, these federal local courts and all these filings could be not constitutionally correct, and that the founding fathers didn't have it set up to be that way, to be going after the executive branch. I don't know if you guys have heard that or any comment on that.
Yeah, Harry, you got a comment? We'll defer to the lawyer.
Sure. So, brilliant question. So the real question here is whether a district court can issue a nationwide injunction affecting all 330 million people based on a case brought before that particular judge. It's a nonsensical argument made largely by the left. Justice Thomas on the United States Supreme Court has indicated that the Supreme Court needs to rein in these district court judgments and basically insists that a district court have only authority over his own jurisdiction, meaning that Judge Chutkan could rule, but her ruling would only affect potentially Washington, D.C.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Seculo program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.